Back to the action here on the Hangout. Last week, working on the script, me and my man Sweets, we knew that NBA officiating was a huge issue. Adam Silver stepping in, so we wanted to talk about it. On Sunday on ABC, the NBA decided, yeah, everyone's talking about it, so we'll give you something back. Fans, Steve Javie, the head of officiating for the NBA, joined the broadcast on Sunday. They also mic'd up the referees. Now, everyone knows this is always going to be an ongoing concern in professional sports. But over the last 2 years, especially the Raptors fan, we've seen some incidents that would leave a bad taste in your mouth. So I'll start with you, Gareth.
Putting it lightly, man.
And that's why I start with you, because I get to play the political side.
Because we shouldn't be talking about the officials. And it doesn't have to be this way, Akil.
There's a push-off from Luol Deng last year against the Toronto Raptors. Here's an obvious foul that Dwayne Casey knew about, and he was upset in Atlanta. And then
this one, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life, any sport. Honestly, that bad. The biggest problem with the NBA and their officiating is the lack of consistency. Yes. Talk to any coach, any player in any sport, all they want to see is the game called the same way over the course of an entire ball game. But when that's not the case, the players, nor the coaches, nor anyone in the crowd knows what they're looking out for, knows what a foul, knows what isn't a foul. There's a huge problem in this league because their officiating is the worst among all the major professional sports.
Garrett, in a game itself is kind of consistent. I think it's game to game.
Really?
Different officiating crews. I notice it because, you know, when we're broadcasting the game, production-wise in the truck, some games are just moving along so quick. And then other games are at a much slower pace. And, you know, one game has 35 fouls and one game has 60 fouls. You know, the Raptors, as an example, they're a good defensive team. But why are there so many fouls being called one night and one night not the other? To me, I agree with you about the inconsistency, but it's more game to game than once the game starts, I think they do have an idea.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree, but I feel that we're putting a lot of trust in people that are human also. Refereeing is not a perfect science, and I've never been a ref, so I'm not biased here. But I know that it's not perfect. I've refed at my own basketball camp, and I can never please anyone. Well, I can never please everyone, only the person who the call is for. Having said that, I do feel that teams like the Raptors, who, although we're doing a lot better right now, and I say we, I'm a huge Raptor fan. Now we're doing a lot better. But in the past, teams that were in the bottom of their divisions, they don't get favored in calls. No, yeah. You know, the superstars are supposed to shine. The good teams are supposed to win.
Call the game by the book.
You know which
call the game by the book.
Complain the most about the refs? The San Antonio Spurs, the Lakers when they're winning championships. They all, like you said, you can't
with
please
the cloud of Tim Donaghy, though, it puts a level of doubt in the fan base, and that cannot happen.
That's true. Actually, I want to just take a quick moment and send a shout out to all the Toronto refs who I have done disservice to over the years. I got a bad reputation. We're talking refs right now. Shouts out to all the referees in Toronto.
I second that.
Okay, I'm leaving that alone.
Moving on, for things players should not have done, Marcus Smart made a terrible decision in a game where I'm not going to say he assaulted, but he did strike a fan after falling into the crowds. Now, let's lay the story down here. Marcus Smart came into the year as the top point guard. Our boy Tyler Ennis kind of steals some of that light from him. So
sure has.
There's a little bit of a spotlight on him. He falls into the crowd, and super fan Jeff Orr mouths something. We're not sure exactly what he said, but Marcus does something that we all know you cannot do as a college or professional athlete. Gary, I'll start with you. He hit a fan.
Again, Marcus Smart is a human being, so we have to be a little bit more forgiving, especially of kids. At the end of the day, he's 18 years old. He's a child. I think the NCAA has to do a much better job of protecting its athletes. While the NCAA continues to make millions, if not billions of dollars, these players are getting a $16,000 scholarship if you're from that same state, right? So if you're from Canada, maybe it's 20 or 30, right? And speaking of which, we got 97 of our players over there right now, which, shout out, we got more Canadians playing NCAA Division I right now than players from New York City, and that's unheard of.
Wow, I did not know that stat.
Yes,
that's crazy.
absolutely.
But you can't let him off the hook for what he did. Listen, I understand he's had a difficult childhood. He's had a difficult past. He's facing adversity.
Okay, Garrett, before you get too far into it, there's some people that chimed in that we want to, address.
Yeah, the excuse mongers.
No.
That's what they're doing. They're giving this guy an excuse. Okay, well, go ahead.
Let's check in with Jon Lucas, because Jon Lucas is a guy who actually had some altercations with the same Jeff Orr, and he came out and tweeted that I just saw the video. That same fan was at the games talking crazy even when I was in school. I don't forget a face. He says a lot of crazy stuff out of his mouth when you are in the game, and he's a grown man. talking the way he does, talking to kids the way he does. And also, the holy grail of college basketball, Dick Vitale, jumped in and said, guy involved in the Smart situation is not a fan as he is classless. Saw YouTube of him in game versus A&M. Still, Smart can't use his hands. I hand it back to you, Gareth.
No, but I get that. Of course Vitale's going to stand up for the player. Of course another player is going to stick up for the player. But that shows a weakness in Smart's character by going and embracing someone in the crowd. Listen, I don't think he's a kid. I think that when these college athletes, you're at a different level. You should not let that sort of thing bother you.
Garrett,
let's let these two go. No, Dan. Gary, go on.
Garrett, I think we all have weaknesses in our character. And one of the things about sports, especially basketball, I can speak for basketball, it's a very emotional game.
I would rather push a guy on the court
kid
than a
is
fan,
frustrated right now, and the last thing you need is a fan. I'm telling you, I've played NCAA basketball in some of the most
but that's life in the NCAA. That's what he's going to have to deal with on a nightly basis in the pro game.
Yes.
You know?
But there is a lot more security at the pro level. At the end of the day, I'm just saying, I'm all for holding people accountable.
But the fan didn't take a swing at him. If the fan wanted to take a swing at him,
no, I hear you. But
words hurt. I get it, but you got to suck it up.
The fan needs to be also held accountable.
Okay, listen,
we have to set a precedent that fans cannot continue to speak to players in that fashion.
Okay,
but we don't know what he said. We don't know what he said.
Agree to disagree. We got to quickly touch on a couple of Canadians that we got to. There's mad love on the couch. There's mad love on the couch. We got to shout out Melvin Edgem. My girl Susan's going to throw his numbers up. He's having a great season, the undersized power forward. But one thing he did do that people have to take notice of is he set the Big 12 record for scoring in a game with 48 points. And when you talk about the scorers that have played in the Big 12, you're talking about guys like Michael Beasley. You're talking about guys like Kevin Durant, who came through and absolutely lit that conference up. So big shouts out to Melvin Edgem. And last but not least, we all sat around the computer and watched it. Tyler Ennis showing out, and for the first time showing a little bit of his mouth. We don't really see that because the kid's so well brought up. So we all got to send some love to young man Tyler Ennis. Syracuse 24-0 holds on to the #1 spot in college basketball. These Canadian kids are wrecking shop out there. We're so proud of them. So listen, still more to come up on the Hangout. We got to talk about the NBA All-Star Game coming up next.